all major events canceled for the summer.
And one of the reasons they're a challenge for us is because they do involve thousands and sometimes millions of people.
For a second year in a row, major festivals like the X and the Caribbean Carnival are canceled due to the pandemic. We look at the impact. Plus,
cramming a year's worth of work into 2 months, it's extremely stressful.
a pair of students has started a petition pushing back against another Quadmaster after the TDSB said it will be bringing back the model in the fall. Their concerns and the board's response. And it is finally starting to feel like spring with a beautiful weekend in store. Just how warm is it going to get and will it last? We'll have all your weather details. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. From the CNE to the Caribbean Carnival to Taste of the Danforth, all major in-person events are canceled in Toronto for the next few months. This will be the second summer that large events have been forced to cancel because of the pandemic. Our Farmer Alley takes a look at the impact.
Sweaty afternoons dancing at Caribana, weaving through the crowds on the Danforth, looking for the best food, zipping through the air at the CNE. You can cross all that out from your summer plans. All major in-person events in the city are now canceled till the fall.
One of the reasons they're a challenge for us is because they do involve thousands and sometimes millions of people.
Even though it's only May, the mayor says the decision is likely final.
I think it is unlikely a lot of these great big crowd events will come back, both because it may well not be time yet for health reasons, but also because they require so much lead time in order to organize them.
Around 65% of Ontarians will have their first COVID-19 shot by the end of the month. So why are we canceling summer already? Infectious disease specialists say a one-shot summer doesn't equal a return to normalcy.
Yes, we will likely have a layer of protection for low-risk things, but it doesn't necessarily give us the layer of protection for higher risk stuff that people are still able to transmit, that some of the population still is not going to be susceptible. And it's going to lead to issues in terms of transmission.
Today on the Danforth, mixed reactions.
Canceling events like that is going to hurt, the society and all of us, especially our kids.
You know me, I'm Caribbean, so of course I'm going to miss my Caribana.
Stay closed, let's be safe. I have no problem with it.
I feel sorry for the businesses.
One of those, the CNE. It estimates it's lost more than $70 million. Its future now in limbo.
We're living on borrowed money. We've negotiated loans, and those loans are due to be repaid in the near term, and so there's a very serious circumstance here, in financially in terms of how we go forward.
And it's called Taste of the Danforth because you're supposed to come that weekend and have a taste and come back.
Howard Lichtman helps run the Taste of the Danforth and sits on the Board of Governors for Exhibition Place.
The sort of provincial economic impact. There's the effect on individuals in terms of jobs, individuals in terms of businesses, and then there's the whole spirit of the city.
Now, the mayor said today the city is committed to bringing back the CNE next year in a bigger and better way, but how that's going to happen is still unclear. The executive director of the CNE said today they're still looking for about $11 million to get them to 2022, and where that money is going to come from is still very unclear. Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
Still some hopeful signs today about what summer and fall could look like if COVID-19 vaccination rates keep climbing. Canada's Public Health Agency says more than half of all Canadian adults have now received one dose. Federal Health Minister Patty Hajdu spoke about what restrictions could possibly be lifted and under what conditions in the coming months.
For the summer, if 75% of us that are eligible for vaccines have one dose and 20% have had a second dose, we can start to see these restrictions be lifted based on public health situations in your area. You'll need to continue to follow the local public health advice and keep up with individual measures like physical distancing and wearing a mask indoors. But you can look forward to small outdoor gatherings with family and friends. And in the fall, if 75% of those eligible for vaccines have received a full COVID-19 vaccination series, then local public health could be able to lift even more measures.
With the United States and the UK dramatically lowering restrictions, experts say Canada's plan is more cautious, but we are on our way back to normal. And new tonight, the officer in charge of Canada's vaccine rollout has left his assignment with the Public Health Agency of Canada pending the results of a military investigation. Major General Danny Fortin was given the job last November. In a brief statement, the Department of National Defense said it will be reviewing its next steps, but it did not describe any allegations against Fortin or explain the nature of the investigation. The latest stay-at-home order is keeping Toronto police busy. The service says their dedicated enforcement teams have responded to 1,000 calls for people gathering indoors and outdoors despite the emergency orders in the past 3 weeks. More than 403 tickets have been issued in the last week alone. 11 criminal charges have also been laid. Among the incidents, what police are calling a large party at a business premise in the Dundas and Beverly area. Officers seized thousands of dollars in alcohol there and issued 24 charges. The NDP wants to see the Ford government lift the current restrictions on outdoor recreation.
We know that the Ontario Science Table has recommended that outdoor recreation be opened safely for community members because we know that this pandemic has had devastating impacts on people's mental health and well-being.
Deputy NDP leader Sarah Singh says opening facilities such as tennis and basketball courts can help people maintain their physical and mental health. Singh says if guidelines around outdoor activity are clearly communicated to the public, Ontarians can be trusted to follow them.
Colette Kennedy joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Colette, another beautiful day. I can definitely get used to this.
Yeah, and you know what? You're going to be able to get used to it because this weather is going to be sticking around for a little while in terms of milder temperatures. In fact, they're likely going to be climbing into next week. So although much of this month, I have a graphic to show you and illustrate this, we were below seasonal. All the areas here, the dates on the calendar you see in blue. Yeah, the temperature, the daytime high I'm talking about was below average. We had one day back there, the 2nd, where we were just over 17 degrees and it was actually above seasonal for that date. Now our seasonal highs at this time of the month are getting closer towards 19 degrees. And hey, we just put another one. We put two together with that temperature above average. And like I said, this trend really looks like it is going to be carrying on here. We had a few fair weather clouds today. We're going to see those clearing skies overnight tonight. Don't get too alarmed by what this model is showing you here. Tomorrow there'll be some clouds building in the afternoon, a few very widely scattered showers or even the odd thunderstorm popping up. Mostly it's going to be dry on the Saturday, okay? But that risk is there. 9 tonight, 21 for the high. And as for the second half of the weekend and this building temperature trend into next week, I'll talk about that coming up, Kelda.
Thanks, Colette. Well, 2 Toronto long-term care homes flagged by the military for deaths due to neglect are now under investigation. The long-term care minister says inspectors are on site in a probe that also involves the coroner's office. This latest development has some families of some of those who died in the homes wondering what really caused their death. Our Lorena Redekop has this story.
Neil Shukla read the Long-Term Care Commission report and had a sickening feeling about his grandpa's death.
He could have potentially died because he wasn't given water.
His family isn't comfortable sharing photos of the 90-year-old who had dementia and lived at Hawthorne Place. Nimai Malik died April 27th, days after the military arrived at the home. A member of the military told the Long-Term Care Commission about seeing feces under the fingernails of residents. Shukla says his family saw what appeared to be feces under his grandpa's nails years earlier. The family was told Malik tested negative for COVID and that his death was due to natural causes. But they wonder.
We wanted to know what happened. They couldn't give us a clear answer.
Today, the long-term care minister confirmed that home and Downsview, both flagged by the military alleging deaths due to neglect, are being looked at.
Well, we're actively working right now with the coroner's office, understanding where that information came from and verifying what happened. So we've got inspectors in 2 homes right now.
In a statement, Hawthorne Place says after the military's report last year, it found many instances where allegations were not shared with Hawthorne Place's leadership team at the time, could not be substantiated, or members of the CAF could not recall a date or time an incident occurred. Downsview Long-Term Care Centre says the military's report to the commission consists of unverified and unsubstantiated second-hand comments. It is false and misleading for anyone to claim that 26 deaths were due to dehydration. Today, family members who've lost loved ones in long-term care protested outside the two homes. One long-term care advocate wants more investigations.
Every single home that was occupied by the military is a very important starting point. So we just need to involve the police, and we need to involve those who can actually lay charges.
Toronto police say so far they have not been contacted by the coroner's office. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
Some Toronto high school students have started a petition calling for the elimination of the Quadmaster. The TDSB announced this week it is bringing back the model in September. As Dahlia Ashry reports, the students say the condensed schedule has been detrimental to both their learning and their mental health.
Jason Wong and Hannah Cohen are both in their senior year at Earl Haig Secondary School. They're expected to keep up with their academics and make time for their arts major. Wong plays piano, and Cohen is a dancer. But under the Quadmaster model,
all I do is work, sleep, sometimes dance, but I rarely even have time for that now.
In a Quadmaster, students take 2 courses at a time across 4 semesters. The model was created during the pandemic by the Ministry of Education to limit contact. But with most people expected to be vaccinated by fall, Cohen and Wong have started a petition urging the TDSB to go back to the 2 semesters model in September. Already, it's garnered over 1,000 signatures.
Cramming a year's worth of work into 2 months, it's extremely stressful.
I know that they've cut exams recently, but what good is that doing us in the long run? When we go to our post-secondary institutions, we're going to be there struggling.
Monica Ferenczi is an education consultant and works with students with special needs. She says it's a systemic issue.
Not giving students enough time to learn and not getting to know students enough to adapt or modify assessments or instructions or give extra support is key, particularly for students with special needs who have greatly suffered in this Quadmaster model because it's just gone too fast for them.
A heavy workload and countless hours in front of the screen. Education experts say that the mental health of teachers and students has been compromised, and they're starting to show signs of depression and anxiety. But the TDSB says that's the safest way to go for now.
It really is about pandemic health and safety reasons that they're doing this, to reduce the student-to-student contacts. We recognize that it may not be a great fit for everyone. We have professional supports services staff. There are drop-in times that they can come talk to someone as well. So we're trying to do our best.
Bird said if conditions improve, the TDSB may reevaluate the decision before September. As for Wong, he said they are planning on organizing a protest against the model when lockdown restrictions are lifted. Dahlia Ashry, CBC News, Toronto.
This new condo construction brought some safety concerns. People are worried that this sudden drop on the sidewalk could be dangerous. I'm Angelina King in Leslieville. I'll have more on what the developer and the city is saying. That's coming up.
Welcome back. Oversized curbs installed in Leslieville are tripping up some residents. The curbs, which sit in front of a new condo development, are almost twice the height of a standard curb. And this has one local councillor demanding answers. Our Angelina King went to check it out.
Those walking down a certain stretch of Queen Street East have to watch out for a sudden drop.
They take their eyes off of it for just 1 sec, something could happen.
Somebody could take a bad fall there by mistake.
New condo construction on Queen near Greenwood includes these planters out front, but that's created 2 levels of sidewalk. A struggle for little legs and a serious safety issue, this pedestrian advocate says.
Especially for people walking with a cane, for example. I don't really understand how this sort of bizarre situation came about and why the city and the developer wouldn't have thought this through before actually building it.
So let's see just how much higher this part of the sidewalk really is. So it looks like it's measuring about 6 inches or 15 centimeters. Right now, the city put these barrels in place, blocking people from experiencing a sudden drop, but that's just temporary.
How is this going to be fixed to make it a safe passage for people?
The local councillor says she's been fielding complaints from concerned constituents. She's asked city staff to come up with solutions and is demanding answers.
Well, how did this happen? Because we don't want it to happen again.
Right now, that's not clear. The developer and city are pointing fingers at each other. In a statement, Rockport said in part, the construction was appropriately permitted and fully approved by the city and was built and occupied in accordance with all necessary municipal permission. In their statement, city staff say there was an error made by the developer and their consultant team, which resulted in the finished grade being higher than it should have been. The developer is cooperating with the city to make immediate efforts to correct the error. The fix could come in the form of more planters, bike racks, and handrails. In the meantime, if you're in the area, just watch your step. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
Remember, if you have a story you'd like us to look into, send us an email, torontotips@cbc.ca. The city releasing some data on their automated speed enforcement cameras. More than 81,000 tickets were issued in the first 3 months of this year. The most tickets were issued on Shepherd Avenue East, west of Don Mills. In January, the camera caught 6,603 motorists speeding, 23% of all tickets. In March, that same device issued 5,247 tickets. That's 17% of the total tickets given. The 50 cameras are now being moved to different locations to start their 3rd round of enforcement in June.
Every time that these two teams have met in playoff history as the Leafs and the Canadiens, the winner of that series has always gone on to win the Stanley Cup.
The Leafs wrap up a record regular season and set their sights on the Stanley Cup. Still ahead tonight, we'll have more from players and fans about how they're feeling ahead of round 1 of the playoffs. And it's mainly clear tonight, remaining clear overnight. And how about these temperatures? Currently, it is 14 degrees in downtown Toronto.
Let's go back to Colette now with a look at your extended forecast. And Colette, glad to hear that these warm temperatures will be sticking around.
Yeah, we're going to see these temperatures, they're pretty much close to seasonal, a little bit above, but it's a really interesting trend coming up as we go into next week. So when we get to the 5-day, I'll explain a little bit what's going on there. Hey, is it okay to garden now? Like many plants where we had to be concerned about the frost, well, I don't have frost advisories for you tonight. Doesn't mean it's not possible in some parts of southern and eastern Ontario. It will still be, but for many of us into the GTA, it's looking better and better here. You just have to check, obviously, with the particular plant that you're looking at and how to put that in your garden. A few pop-ups Saturday, yeah, some widely scattered showers, thunderstorm activity in the afternoon. There shouldn't be much to that, and those temperatures that will be trending. There's not complete agreement on that with the model, so that's why I want to show you a little more here when we get to the 5-day. These are your daytime highs then for today, 21 degrees into Toronto, 24 over towards the nation's capital. Tomorrow afternoon, you can see how the model just wants to allow for a few pop-ups. It's just because of the daytime heating and that sunshine, a little bit of of convective activity. Some of this looks like it may be more cloud cover. This is into Sunday morning for southwestern Ontario than really it's going to necessarily be moisture making it to the ground. But there'll still be a few isolated showers, then kind of a drying period. And then we get into the afternoon and kind of the same thing where we see some pop-ups for the GTA. I would expect that to stay north and to the west, and so that it stays dry on Sunday and into Monday. Hey, we keep doing this with high pressure and a southerly flow. Overnight tonight, your temperatures 5 and 6 degrees, the low in southwestern Ontario, the lows, and the highs tomorrow. How about low 20s again, 23 for Windsor, around the Golden Horseshoe, a little bit cooler for St. Catharines at 5 and 9 degrees there for Toronto. And there you go. I'm not saying necessarily Markham, necessarily in Hamilton or Mississauga, you'll get one of these stray showers. I'm just trying to show you it's really hard to predict exactly where they'll pop up, but they'll be the odd one coming your way. Sunday, there's that 20 degrees. This is the trend I'm talking about. And one of the models actually wants to really skyrocket the temperatures, and another's actually keeping them lower than this. Normally, if I can really see a clear indication of where they're going, then I'm going to go with that. But I'm going to tell you with this one, it's long range, it's out there. So basically, this is a case where I'm balancing them in the middle, and we'll know more about what's going to be happening with the atmosphere when we get into the beginning of next week. Kelda?
Thanks, Colette.
This weather update is brought to you by Train. For a limited time, take advantage of 36 equal payments and 0% financing. It's hard to stop a train.
Rebound by Kerfoot. Back he goes to Muzzin. A long shot. Rebound. Mikheyev scores.
The Leafs in Winnipeg taking on the Jets in the final regular season game. Now skip to the third. The game is tied 2-2 when Kyle Connor scores to give the Jets the lead. They would add an empty netter in the final minute to seal the deal. Winnipeg wins 4-2. But hey, no matter, this was still the Leafs' best regular season in more than 20 years. The team sitting at the top of their division as they head into the playoffs next week, which will see them go head-to-head against their oldest rivals in round one. Greg Ross speaks to players and fans excited to see the Leafs and Habs face off for the first time since 1979.
I think it's pretty cool, to be honest with you.
The significance of this historic rivalry between the Leafs and Canadians is not lost on Leafs forward Alex Kerfoot.
Those are kind of moments that you dream of as a kid.
Of course, not a single player on the Leafs was even born yet the last time these two teams met in a playoff series. That was back in 1979. Any player who needs a history lesson can certainly get one from Mark Farah.
So that jersey right there worn by Tiger Williams was actually worn in that last series between the Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens.
Absolutely, and he actually accumulated 48 penalty minutes in just 6 games, which shows you the difference of yesterday's game to today.
In that 1979 series?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Farah has a treasure trove of authentic Leafs memorabilia in his Brampton basement, past and present, including a number of items from the players who were on that 1979 team.
John Anderson, Mike Palmateer.
Absolutely. You've got Rocky Sagnak as well, who wore that sweater during that series as well. And of course, you've got Boreas Salming, who came over as the first European player. Was a lot tougher than people would give him credit for.
There's a big contrast between the equipment players used back then and now, like this Daryl Sittler hockey stick from '79 and this Austin Matthews stick from last year.
The Sittler stick, the lower wooden stick, is about 4 times the weight of the upper stick, which is an Austin Matthews.
And here comes the shot.
The Leafs lost that series in 1979. The Habs swept them in 4 straight. Farah is looking for a better outcome this time around. He says winning this series would be a good omen.
Every time that these two teams have met in playoff history as the Leafs and the Canadiens, the winner of that series has always gone on to win the Stanley Cup.
So Thursday, this will be where you're watching game 1, and you'll be surrounded by lots of memorabilia. You got Matthews, Marner, Tavares jerseys over there. I mean, this is crazy.
Literally, it's surrounded with history, lots of stories, lots of past, and hopefully lots of future.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Brampton.
All right, go Leafs go. And that is our show for you tonight and for the week. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you back here on Monday. And we want to leave you with these pictures of our Harbourfront tonight. People out and about kicking off the weekend outdoors. Have a great night, everyone.